So, Nana Spio-Garbrah, welcome to the show. You are my last guest of the year.
Oh my gosh, what an honor.
Oh.
Thank you, Alba. How are you?
I am great. So, Blueprint Africa, it's like the name just sounds so significant. It's like it's blueprint. I mean, yeah. So what informed that? How did you come?
How do I come up with the name?
Yeah.
Well, so for everybody out there, Blueprint Africa is an interior styling studio. But our focus is on African aesthetics, right? So I think by now, most of us, millennials or Generation Z, we know the Pinterest, we know Instagram, we go there for inspiration. And when I was looking for inspiration for a home, my first home that I bought as a dynamic young 20-year-old.
Wow. Now that is 20-year-old buying a house.
26, but yes, I was.
But still 20s. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I was. Now I'm a bit tame, but back then I was like, I must conquer the world.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Amen. So I was scouring the internet and I was just like, looking for, not necessarily looking for African design in the sense that it's been stereotypically portrayed, like masks and
mud
huts and all that. No,
roofs.
I was like, I'm a modern African woman, contemporary African woman, and I want my home to reflect me, my identity. So I was scouring the internet and I just wasn't finding anything outside of the zebra pattern and the Ankara. So it became frustrating. So I started a brand, Blueprint Africa. And at the time, I didn't have a name. I just knew that I wanted to collect inspiration images that I felt were reflective of a more modern aesthetic. And I was talking to my friend, Elaine Mensah, another Ghanaian who's very dynamic as well in the fashion industry. And I was like, I was telling her about this, that I was collating, making a repository of just images and designers specifically that are doing something new. And she was like, oh, you should brand this, you should name it something. And I was like, really? Okay. What? And she was like, well, what do you see it as? Well, I said, I see it as a guide. I see it as a guide or a blueprint to how the modern African lives. And she was like, that's it, Blueprint Africa.
Because, I mean, it's like, this is the map. This is the guide.
This is it.
It's just absolutely perfect. So, on that note, welcome again once to the show. How has your week been? What have you been doing? Wrapping up, the year.
Yeah. So, wrapping up the year, this last quarter was tough. A lot of installations tend to happen at the latter half of the year because people suddenly are like, oh, I'm going to have people over, or I want to refresh for the new year, or I have a store that I need to open in the new year or for Christmas. And so it gets a bit hectic, but it's been good. I mean, busy is blessings. So for me, it's been good. And then also this quarter, I was elected into the leadership of the Interior Designers and Decorators Association of Ghana. So that's been fun, trying to just get to know all of the members better. And it's been really inspiring because I personally did not even know how many interior designers and decorators are operating in Ghana, the type of work that they're putting out. We have the gentleman that put up Sandbox.
Okay.
That's now a phenomenon in the city as a member, and other dynamic, designers. And it was just great to have that community and to just know more about them. So that was fun as well.
This is really good because I think, just like you, a lot of us did not, the wonderful thing I like about Accra and probably Ghana, and I think it's probably the same for other African cities in the sense that the cities are living, breathing, they're expanding, they're evolving. It's actually a protagonist it's not like a city where everything's been planned and there's no room for anything. I like that. So every time you turn a corner, you discover something new.
If you leave Accra for more than 3
weeks.
months,
you come, it's like a completely
it's a different place. So yeah, it's there's that new, I don't know, the rejuvenation
Yeah.
and love for the built environment. And I
Yes.
think that I don't know what happened in 2020, whether it was like the Black Lives Matter or Black Panther, but people, and the year of the return, obviously, as well, but that people have just come back to, okay, design. Like, why are we doing copy and paste of Dubai or Turkey
Or
or
wherever.
wherever? Let's look at our indigenous savoir faire. Let's look at sustainability and ecology and just not having to give our foreign exchange to
Somebody else.
else. Let's
When it,
just look in our backyard. Like yesterday, I was so enthralled by a video that Vanessa Cambi did. She's a Ghanaian blogger or vlogger, I should say. She does videos on YouTube, and she interviewed Ophelia Okunwumi, who made an entire house out of raffia.
okay.
Like, you saw your reaction. It was like,
Yeah, because I was kind of thinking, okay, so what are the walls? I mean, what are the you know,
the whole house is made of raffia palm. I'll even send the video to you. It's amazing, and it's just so inspiring because we have so much talent. But she was saying that she went, on the road to Blue Moon, and it was on the road that she saw the structure, and she stopped her driver and was like, I need to
And-
understand what's happening here.
this we need to see this video, because in my mind I'm thinking, what's holding it up? If a little piece of wind comes, does it? Is it like the wolf that blows the piggy's house off?
This woman she's 78. She's been in the industry for years. So I mean, I trust that her foreman made it.
Knows what he's talking
Yeah,
about.
but even I was kind of like, my
Wow.
goodness, this is but
Amazing.
It's amazing. And then we're sitting here dealing with low income housing issues.
Yeah.
And this is a low income house. So we need to, replicate it.
Anyway, we jumped right into it, but usually what I like to do with my guests is, I think the books that we read and the things that we read gives a really good insight into who we are as people. I know that you are going to read something by Aisha Haruna Atta. She's like one of my favorite writers. We in fact started, I think we wrote our first novels around the same time. And so from which of her books are you reading?
100 Wells of Salaga.
Oh, 100 Wells of Salaga.
Let me just.
Even just the title alone
Yeah.
knows that you're in for something good. Okay, Nana, the floor is yours. Tell us what you're going to read.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the excerpt. Give me a second.
Okay. Because like normally it's like we go into the book reading first before we start discussing.
See, I'm
No,
messing up your whole flow. I'm so
No,
sorry.
I mean, just when I saw the word Blueprint Africa, I was like, Blueprint, it's such a definite title. And I was like, definitely, I'm going to find out what that is first before we delve into the book stuff. So are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, take it away.
She thought of the Madugu. Aya once told her that he had 20 wives and was still searching. When she told her friends, they started conspiring to set themselves in his path. To be a 21st wife? What was admirable about that? Amina preferred the idea of traveling on a camel or a horse with a sack full of shoes, doing the kind of work Baba did, making something with one's hands and then traveling far to sell it. The oil bubbled and spurted and cast its nuttiness into the air. Amina rested her head on her palm and stared at the oil. But no woman in Botu made shoes. They all worked the land. She needed to talk to Baba. What if she were to make shoes?
Okay, that's a feminist right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that passage because I think it reflects what a lot of women, go through. Can I break the molds, imposter syndrome? And I mean, this was set in northern Ghana in 1897 or something. But I think the themes still resonate with the struggles that women have today. And as a woman working in what is traditionally seen as a male environment, which is architecture, build design, interior design. I love feminist perspectives, and just maybe even not feminists, but just perspectives of women.
Considering the women are the ones who have to operate mostly in those spaces, so in
Exactly.
fact the spaces need to be designed
With
w-
functionality in
to,
mind.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of where interior designers and stylists like myself often come in. And one of the things that we would like to push forward with the association is, don't call us afterwards. Don't have the house built and then call and say, oh, well, there's not an outlet here, and my kitchen's not functional, so I need you to come and dismantle this and try and fix somebody else's work. That's not the ideal. The ideal is to have an architect and the interior designer, the quantity surveyor, everybody as a team to collectively come up with the most functional space for the inhabitants or whatever it's going to be used for.
Going back to what you read, you started off in banking and finance and management consulting, yeah? So, I mean, it's really silly now, but it's a good thing to ask. You're from what took you to the art side, and how horrified were your family?
Well, how should I put it? It's always been there. I think with a lot of, if we look at a lot of creatives across Africa, they're career shifters, or they're doing both jobs at the same, they're doing two jobs because at least our generation, we didn't have kind of the latitude, I think, that a lot of younger or emerging artists have today.
Yeah.
Like our parents were like, you must
Like,
do
are
economics,
you
you must,
mad?
yeah, you must get married, you must be a doctor, you must be this.
I remember the strange look. When I was about 11, my best friend was named Gina. She was a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl in London, but her mother was a ballerina and she studied ballet. So I used to go to their house and I would see them on their toes doing their pliés, practicing. And of course, you get excited. Your best friend, that's what she does. And so her mother said, she was dancing with one ballet troupe and would take us to watch some things. And then she wanted me to come and start taking classes. And my parents were like, black people
Why?
don't do
Yeah.
ballet.
Like, why?
Why? And that broke my heart.
Yeah. So I'm really optimistic for the future because I think that I think parents are just more open to the breadth of careers that one can have. So my parents, now that I'm older and they feel like, okay, you have proven yourself in this other sector.
And you are feeding yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
So they're just like, hey, if you want to start a business and this is your passion and you can run it, no problem. But it's always been there. I've had, as the typical story, our mothers, my mom was always the type of person who had to shift everything in the house every quarter. She couldn't stand,
like, to refresh it up a little
she
bit.
had to have plants everywhere. She's a huge plant mom. She loves her garden. She loves her food, like cooking, and she's francophone. My mom is from Côte d'Ivoire, so
Well, they're very chic, aren't they?
yeah. I mean, I think so. Yeah.
That you'll be claiming that side very hard.
So, I think I had the best of both worlds, having that francophone side on my mom and then the Ghanaian side from my dad. But yeah, her side was very vivacious, very like
Visual.
very visual, aesthetics driven, fashion, everything was 110%.
So basically, it was all just in you. It was just waiting to come out at the right time. And
I
of
think
course,
so.
and then I think also sometimes you have to take journeys, through other spaces
Absolutely.
to collect experiences and knowledge that you can then convert to help,
Absolutely.
and
And
where
I
you're
think
going.
the background I have in management consulting and finance particularly has helped so much because my business is a bit it has so many legs. And one leg is just kind of advisory on the business side of what you're doing creatively. So
Yeah.
if you're an interior designer or your product designer, mainly are my clients, you're making beautiful vases. And as a creative, you're only focused on making the vases. You don't care about distribution. You don't know how you're going to sell it. You don't care about retailing.
It's
You don't care about marketing. It's just like, I'm making my ceramics.
I think it's a problem that faces a lot of artists face, because you're there doing your craft, but obviously there's a consumer for it, and there's an industry, and that journey of, yes, I've made all my things, now how am I going to convert that into money? How am I going to build my market base?
Yeah. So Blueprint Africa assists, we have one revenue stream that assists clients, product designers mainly, with that kind of work.
Which is the kind of products that you would use
in my renovations.
Okay,
exactly.
so then it's basically the whole market that revolves around the work you do. And we've already started discussing Blueprint, the work you do. Now I want to throw some questions at you, and then you can really enlighten us about the work. So I want you to set the stage by asking you to break down what style is and how the principles of it work, and what is African living and African aesthetic. I know it's like a couple of questions, but then, yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting question. It's a fun question. Style is individualism. I feel that it's comfort, it's expression. It's not something that can be bottled, or I know we try to commodify it and, be explicit about style is X. But I really feel like if somebody has confidence and is reflecting their personal view of beauty, then they have style, I think we can define style by what it is not. What it is not is mimicking other people. What it is not is, accumulating a lot of luxury brands or something like that. You can have so much style using secondhand clothes from, a market. It's about how you put the things together.
It's like, I'm sorry, those people in Congo, les sapeurs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really stylish.
Yeah. It's the confidence. It's the confidence in how you have, and the authenticity that you're wearing or in your home or wherever, and just owning it, So that's how I define style. Now the African aesthetic is a question.
And the African living.
Yeah. Is a question I've been trying to unpack since I founded Blueprint Africa. And again, it's difficult because we're 54 countries. So even saying African design or African aesthetic, it's a bit of a misnomer.
Would you be able to find maybe a thread or something that runs through it?
The thread that I think runs through it is that we are very capable of taking nothing, we upcycle things. So we can see something somebody else might have discarded and rejuvenate it, polish it up, combine it with something else, and all of a sudden you have, an item of beauty. So I think that resonates throughout, and also the use of the use of our local materials. So for example, somebody might say masks are a common thread. Yes, they are, but it's more because we have so much access to timber. Our wood is amazing, and it, because of our environments, we have access to it. It's in abundance. There's different types and all of that.
And it's also part of our culture and our history.
Exactly. So yes, I would also probably say the cultural, the way that we inject culture into the aesthetics also is very prominent, because even the way, a lot of the things that are now decor items, the masks, for example, or even juju hats or Ashanti stools and all that, came from royalty or came from some, traditional indigenous practice, and is now being translated into a new environment or function. So I think those would be common themes, but to say that if I see an image, this is what Africa is, would not be correct. That's what I think, because it goes back to, if I see something that looks tribal, air quotes, or I see something that looks primitive, then it's African. And I'm like, no, because every society had what we call primitive. The Swedes were primitive at some time. Australians or
The Aborigines,
yeah,
yeah.
every
Native
society.
Americans, the
Exactly.
Guarani, all those, the
Yeah.
Oaxaca people. I mean, they really trying to drag back their.
Yeah. So we are in 2021, so don't associate us with
Grass skirts and bones through our
exactly
noses.
to the extent that you are not associating North America with, whatever the indigenous people before they were allegedly Christopher Columbus discovered America, which we know is not true, but
Well,
if
actually, it was Amerigo Vespucci got there before Christopher
you see,
Columbus,
you
because
even
you see, America is after Amerigo Vespucci,
there you
but
go.
he gets the
He gets the credit. So,
yeah.
but yeah, just I don't like the association of Africa with this primitive or vernacular design. It's not. We need to be
Wait a moment,
modernized as
you,
well.
You just said vernacular design. What is that?
So vernacular design is a practice of design where you're using local or indigenous practices in the design aesthetic. However, it's now been co-opted to mean primitive or tribal. But again, if I'm in the UK, they have a vernacular design.
Yes.
What they were using in 1400 is their vernacular design. So it has nothing, it should not be associated with Africa or with so-called emerging countries
Third
or
world countries,
yeah,
yeah.
regions. Vernacular design just means the original way that we build things, the indigenous way that we build things. That's it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, I read on your website. I'm going to read it now. I wrote it down. It said, with every client, the goal is to make sure the space or the products used in the styling reflects a modern Africa that is at peace with its traditions, roots, and people. Okay, so I'm a client. I come to you. Take me through the steps we'll go through to achieve this goal.
Okay. So at Blueprint Africa, we start with a consultation. Well, actually, no. We start with an online questionnaire. So what I'd like to tell people is that interior designers and decorators are first psychologists. People come to us with aspirations.
So it's like, Nana, fix my life.
Yeah. Because they come to me with aspirations. Oh, I saw this in this person's house, or I saw this on TV. I love it. I want the same thing.
Okay.
And I hear them, and I'm like, okay, but why? And
The why is always very
oh
important.
yeah,
huh?
because we are the number one driver, at least in my case, is function. I can give you a beautiful space, but if you cannot live in it, it's just a set. It's not helping you.
You know what it's like? It's like, you know, when you watch those Nollywood movies?
Yes.
And then you see some rich family and you know they don't belong to that space.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I want to draw subtly because, your human relations are very important,
And
right?
you also want their money. You don't want them running off somewhere
Sure.
else.
Sure. But I want to give them good service. So it takes a lot of unpacking and unpeeling the onion to get to what is it that you really need in this space. I know what you want, but
What
you
you
want everything in your house to be glass, but you have 4 kids.
No.
So let's discuss this, so we have that conversation, but through a questionnaire first, because there are also clients that you have to respectfully
Decline?
decline because they don't understand what you do really.
And you can tell that from the questionnaire?
Oh yeah, like if somebody comes to me and says, I want this, and this, my first question is, okay, what's your budget? And they're like, oh, I don't have a budget. That for me is a red flag.
That's a red flag.
It's a red flag because
Unless it's some Saudi Arabian prince or something, then you know that there's no budget.
yeah, no, if he tells me there's no budget, as in the budget is limitless,
Okay.
that's different. But people will come and want certain things, but have not sat down and thought about, this is going to cost something, and I need to have a budget so that when I go to the person, I can say, okay, I want to do this, and this is what I have to do it.
This is the
Can
size
it
of my
work?
pocket. Does
Yeah.
it work?
But just coming and then wanting somebody to do a whole bunch of work, and then only for you to come back and be like, well, I can't afford this thing that I myself am asking for. because designers work on time. We're like
The
consultants.
shocked look on my face is like, really? So you got up one day from your
Oh,
bed
yes.
and really?
Yes, people come all the time with no budget or they don't want to communicate the budget. And I'm like, again, this is a relationship. It's an intimate relationship. I'm coming into your home or into your commercial space. If we don't start with trust, if you're already like, well, I don't want to share this, I don't want to share
You're
that.
being secretive, then
Yeah.
no point.
Yeah, so there's a lot of vetting that happens through that questionnaire.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once we get the questionnaire back and I evaluate it, then I have an in-person
Meeting.
consultation. I go see the space, I meet the person, because again, it's about the person. It's not even about the space. It's about, are you going to give me the bandwidth I need to do my job? Are you going to listen to me when I advise you that this, I know that you want it, but can we maybe look at this other option? If there's a lot of friction, the project's not going to go well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you want to evaluate the space and all that. And I charge for the first consultation because again, it's time.
Yes.
And when people hesitate to pay that first consultation, again, it's not onerous, but again, I know you're not serious, because a lot of designers, what they do is they charge you for the consultation, but they what's it called? They retract it from the purchases or whatever hours the designer will put in later. So if you're afraid of putting that first,
like if they go and see their lawyer, do they not put money out?
exactly. But this is the thing, interior, the association I'm a part of is trying to fight this perception that interior decoration or interior design is a frivolous thing. And we just come and hang curtains and then we go home. No, it's a very serious profession.
In my mind, I see it as very serious. I mean, to have people in your home, but I also see it as something that's also quite elite.
Yes. So it's historically is a luxury service. But I think that because of the democratization of access to contractors, furniture, and then the internet, it's become such a level playing field that it's a luxury service in the sense that you value your time and your passions, that you don't want to do something. It's like saying, I can do my own hair. Right? But I want to go to a spa or to a hairdresser and be pampered, or I just don't want to do it. So it's a luxury service in that sense, not necessarily on a price point, but in the sense that I am now your concierge for your home.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you've looked at my space. I've been very upfront with you. I have the money. You've looked at my space. You've analyzed me, whatever. What's the next step?
Contracts.
Okay, so we
signed the contract. Then the next step is I go into my world, and based on the questionnaire, based on our conversations, I now come up with what's called a mood board. And a mood board is basically
we have that in the film industry as well.
So like a
It's
storyboard. This
yeah.
is what it's going to look like. These are the color schemes. This is the pattern selection. These are the materials I'm going to use. You might have actual furniture pieces, but it's more inspiration. I always have a disclaimer on my mood board that, especially in Africa where you might not be able to source exactly what's in your mood board, to say, this is just an indication. It's not actually what I'm going to potentially use. To the extent possible, we try to make it so, but yeah. So you get the mood board. Then the client clears that. Then we start doing a 2-dimensional rendering. So we would have gotten or produced, depending on if you have it or not, your floor plan. And then we put it in 2D. And then we start trying to figure out where everything would go. So if there's tiling to be done, we see how the tile looks. Where do we place the couch versus whatever? How do we do the lighting? Are there enough outlets because it also depends on the space and what the space has. For example, I've had a client where in their kitchen, there was only one electrical out.
Really?
Yeah, because again, property developers tend to be male.
Because in my small kitchen that you couldn't, you can't even swing a cat in. I have about 8
No, this was
because I got the place when it was just freshly built.
aha.
And then I was like, nah, you gotta do stuff here, you gotta
Yeah,
do
you have
stuff
to
here, you gotta
add.
do
This
stuff
is
here.
it. But in the space in the client space I'm referring to, they had bought it sight unseen, like, off plan, whatever. And when they got in, there was one
One.
outlet. Yeah. And so they were like, I have my toaster, I have my blender, I have all my appliances, I want to charge my
So
phone.
then, so
They
then
were,
you have nightmares of that extension board with like 5 million
with
wires.
all the wires, exactly. So in the assessment of the space, these are the type of things that we think about. Do we have to now be breaking walls, redoing electrical? Do we have to redo plumbing? Or is it really just the aesthetics, as in
And so you will go as far as redoing, rewiring, and
yes, yes, yes,
redirecting plumbing.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so depending on that, we will then give them, basically the client will get a visual rendering
In 2D.
in 2D, a video of how their space is going to look. So we'll give them 2D, which is a static image, and then we give them 3D, which is a video, so they can
And that one
see.
will be like the walkthrough, like you see them
Exactly.
on the internet, the walking through.
Exactly. And some clients they stop there. They're just like, I just want to see how everything will be put together, and afterwards give me a shopping list. We'll pay for that, but you don't have to install, right? So some clients stop there. They just want the e-design, give me where I can find all the items, and then I'm done with you, which is fine. That's good too.
Why would they stop there when they could have you just come and put the sofa in
It's
it?
an additional cost, right? So I break down every stage, and every stage has a different.
But you would deliver it to the house.
No. I just tell them this is where you can
Oh,
source.
then they go and
they
source
can go
themselves
source and do all that. Some people prefer that, but the typical client will allow you to go 360, and therefore you would give them the 3D rendering. They would approve it. You give them the sourcing. Well, sometimes I give the sourcing sheet without revealing my sources, depending on where I'm getting it from, because when you're in the trade, you get certain benefits and discounts and all of that. So you don't, again, it's the trust.
You
So
don't want to share it all out. You don't want.
because clients are also, every people, how do I say it delicately? They will try to, maneuver around you, if they are empowered to do so.
If they feel they
So-
can, do a cut somewhere.
Yeah, so you also have to protect your intellectual property, as with any other business, and then you get to the installation stage. So you'll do sourcing and procurement. You will get all the materials needed, carpets, curtains. You'll get everything made. You store it where you are, so you don't disrupt your client. And then, when everything is there, then you organize an installation day or few days. Usually they give you 24 or 48 hours, and then you come and install everything.
We were, talking about, how some people think that interior design, anybody can do it. You can go on YouTube and find 5,000 videos, but from what you told us earlier,
It's a process. It's a process. It combines science and art. There's geometry. You have to know how to draw. You have to know certain technologies like Rivet or Illustrator. Not to say that the barrier to entry into the profession is little. I didn't go to design school, for example. But it's more than hanging curtains, which is what a lot of, I think, people out there might perceive it to be. So yeah.
Yeah, because I'm also thinking of, I bought a book I was in Scotland some years back, and I went into a bookshop and found a book on feng shui. And it's kind of like, how to build your house, for where the sun rises and where the sun sets and how light enters.
And how, traffic flow and
You like the chi and, all that. You work with some of that too?
I don't focus on feng shui, but I mean there are elements of that I think are timeless and characteristic of spaces. Just making sure spacing is right, that there's airflow. I mean, a lot of homes are so hot. We are so dependent on our ACs, our air conditioning, because we didn't position the house in the direction of how
the sun would work out.
or even how the wind
The
wind
airflow.
currents. Yeah.
And then
So
we also have a lot of very small windows. I see tiny windows all over the place.
yeah. So I'm really waiting for somebody to innovate burglar bars, because I
I hate
absolutely
those.
hate
I hate
burglar
them. I
bars, but
hate
they're
them.
necessary. So I'm just waiting for that innovation to come, because really I love open spaces. I love opening all the windows. My mom is always like, mosquitoes, mosquitoes, but I'm
But
just
it's
like,
yeah,
I
you can just
need-
spray them away.
I just need to have my open space. I can't.
Okay, so we talked about, you made it very clear. Of course, Africa is not a monolith. Is you can't, use one paintbrush over us. We have 54 different countries. We've got cultures. We've got food. We've got traditions. Okay, so let's take Ghana. What would, for instance, again, I'm the client. I want to work on my kitchen, our food culture. How would the styling reflect our eating and cooking culture within the kitchen space?
This is an interesting one. The kitchen is a tough one, because, I mean, here we're going more deeply maybe into the architecture and the interior design than the actual aesthetics of it, because the first thing that came to mind is acoustics. One thing that I absolutely hate is the sound of people pounding fufu. And people in homes, in apartments, are pounding fufu.
I live in an apartment, and and there are 2 floors. I'm on the ground floor. There's a first floor, and people come and they'll be pounding fufu upstairs. And I'll go and I'll say, "Do you know what you're doing to the building?
Exactly.
Bring the damn thing downstairs."
Yeah. So just thinking about how we eat and what we eat and how we can design the space to allow for those practices to still take place but not threaten the integrity of the building, and also the acoustics, the sound, not traveling to disturb everyone. So that's like one thing that one might consider when thinking about that space. And then also I might think about having a very bright kitchen, not using dark colors, because our sauces and our food tend to be colorful and on the darker side of things, because we have lots of soups and that kind of thing, and you would want natural light.
I think also lighter color walls also open up the space, don't
Absolutely, yeah. And then if we think about smells, so for example, these are the considerations. So we think about smoked fish, or we think about like my mom, for example, she loves pepe, like, and when I say pepper, like not shito, like pepper that makes you cry,
Weep.
yeah. And when she is cooking it, like none of us can come to the kitchen because we'll all start tearing, yeah,
teary-eyed.
So having exhaust, making sure the kitchen has a lot of exhaust,
like air filters to filter out
on the stove to just take out smells and things like that. So these are the type of considerations. Very, just what I can think of right now with the question. But yeah.
Because I was thinking like something like fufu is very particular to Ghana. And so, I was just thinking of those people upstairs pounding away, and I was thinking like, if somebody like you came into our home, what would you.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. And these are the questions that as an interior designer, it's a difficult question to tackle. It's probably more like a property developer question, because we have to develop homes and properties,
taking the culture into consideration.
Yeah,
because we have I see a lot of glass buildings cropping up all over the place. I'm like, are these people really thinking
they're just gonna pay a lot of electricity bill?
Yeah, because like sometimes the glare of some of those buildings,
and then another thing, for example, is, I don't know about you, but I don't know where this came from, but African families always have a deep freezer, or even black families.
Yeah.
We like to hoard. We like to hoard food and meat and everything because we'll go, slaughter a whole cow and then, want to keep it for the year. And our spaces don't ever accommodate deep freezers. So, these are
So
the
then
type
you
of
find the
things.
deep freezers in the living room.
Yeah, or in, on the balcony or somewhere
Somewhere,
that's not incorporated into the kitchen. So again, from my perspective, how do we acknowledge, be honest with ourselves that we are a deep freezer culture? Leave a space for a deep freezer.
So then ideally, if you were in a situation, the best thing would be, as you were having your plans, home plans
Exactly.
designed, that's the time
That's the
when you
time.
bring in an interior
Absolutely.
stylist.
Yes, absolutely.
And then working along with the
architect.
architect, they
because the architect is, well, let me not speak to what their profession is, because they're definitely Ghanaian architects are some of the best in Africa, but they're looking at the structural integrity of the building. Is the building going to stand up? How is it going to look from the exterior? But the interior details of interior designers look more at how are you going to live in this space. Even if we remove homes, interior designers work in commercial spaces. When you walk into a bank, how does the space direct how traffic goes? How does the space make you know immediately, okay, I'm here to do X activity, so I need to go to the left? Or, so we always look at function. What is the space going to be used for? And that's what drives our work. So it's a bit, yeah. So we like to work with them.
Yeah, so I mean, for the client, ideally it would be better to have both of you
Absolutely.
on board right at the beginning. This is fantastic. So we are coming slowly to the end of the show. But Nana, I want to ask you something. Somebody is listening
Yes.
and they're thinking, wow, I need this woman. I need her company to come and do ABC. Please, it's not just painting walls and hanging curtains. It's deeper stuff.
Yes.
I want to find out more of what Nana can do for me. How do they contact you?
Well, it's very easy. I am on all social media platforms as Blueprint Africa. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm very responsive to direct messages. I also have a website, www.blueprintafrica.com. We have, as I said, the questionnaire, so you can just, already give us a perception of what you want done. You can just send us an email. So yeah, we're open, and we definitely want, I definitely want people to feel like interior design services are accessible to them. We will work with your budget. If we're not able to work with your budget, as I said, I'm part of an association. We can always refer you to others because we're a community. And we all have our specializations. Like I said, I specialize in an African aesthetic. Others specialize in other things. So just let's have the conversation. So as I said, website www.blueprintafrica.com and on all social media at Blueprint Africa.
Okay, and then the association. How do we get in contact with them?
So the association is called Interior Designers and Decorators Ghana, and the website is www.iddgh.
IDDGH.
Yes. .com. And yeah, you can email us as well. We have an email address. I believe it's IDDGhana at gmail.com.
Okay.
I'll say it again. IDDGhana at gmail.com.
Okay, so people, please, it's not just painting and hanging curtains. This is like a total analysis of you, your needs, and how your home space can be made to
let's
meet that.
elevate so that when you get home, you feel peace, you're at ease, everything has its place, and we're about to entertain. We're getting into the Christmas season. We're entertaining. You've been home all year because of COVID, right? So make it a sanctuary and let us help you do that.
Excellent. Nana, thank you so much.
Thank you for
coming,
having me.
sharing your world with us, because seriously, this was not something I'd particularly thought much about.
Well, I'm glad that we had this conversation, and I hope your listeners appreciated it too.
Me too, me too. Thank you so much. People, if you are just tuning in, you are late. But you can catch the repeat in the next couple of days on africaglobalradio.com. If you missed out, in fact, not if you missed out, you did miss out. It's as simple as that. So go to africaglobalradio.com in the next couple of days and listen to this exciting conversation that I had with Nana. As I keep on mentioning, we are on africaglobalradio.com. On Twitter, we are AF Global. Instagram, AF Global Radio. Facebook, Africa Global Radio. And of course, you can send me a WhatsApp on +233 2070 As you know, Arts Africa is brought to you by Africa Global Radio in collaboration with the Creative Writing Academy. So, as you know, my name is Alba. I'm the host of Arts Africa on Africa Global Radio. And we have reached the end of the show of the year.